Good morning. If I told you that once upon a time I walked into a tax foreclosure sale and bought all 100 properties for $5 each, would you stay and listen to more? Okay, good, because that's what I did. I was a few years into investing in real estate, and I was in Kansas. I was up in Kansas City, and I was going to a tax sale about let's say about 45 minutes south of there. And on any normal day, I would have given us an hour to drive there, but it was really, really bad weather. And there was a gentleman that used to do all the driving back then, and I said, well, let's make sure we get out early. And we left a few hours early, and it was really treacherous. What took, normally 45 minutes, I believe, took us about a 3-hour drive, and there was cars everywhere on the side of the road. And tax sale started at 9, and I walked in and I sat there and looked around, and there was nobody else there, and the minimum bid was only $5. Do the math. 100 times 5 is $500. And so they opened up, they had to start the sale, and I was the only one there. And I said, I'll take them all. They said, you'll take them all? Yep, I'll take them all. And wow, thinking back, what a really interesting, not only a really interesting subdivision that I bought that day, because it was totally set up to run on holding tanks that somebody comes and supplies you with water, and they also pump your septic. So, I thought back then, wow, I never heard of anything like that before. And now people are screaming to be able to live that way, that they want to live off grid like that. Anyway, so I already had bought some of these lots. They were part of a landowners association. And while the association dues were minimal, very minimal, I already had some lots out there, and immediately coming up, I would have to owe those dues on 100 properties. So, boy, say that the dues were $20 a year, I already owned a bunch. So I called one of my wholesaling buddies, and I said, hey, I just bought these, I didn't tell him what I bought them for, but are you interested in buying a bulk of them? And he bought them all as well. So I actually made back my $500 principal before I left the courthouse, because there was a girl that had walked in, and the sale was over in 5 minutes, and she walked in about 10 minutes late, and she was really disappointed to hear that everything had just gone to me. And I said, well, what is it that you wanted? And there was a couple lots adjoining hers that I said, well, hey, I'll sell them to you for $500. So I did. So I got my money back before I left, made that deal before I left. And so then everything after that was profit. And so that's how I made, that's quick cash to make. And it's a fun game. I have a lot of other wins that have certainly gone on. A few of my other wins in the tax foreclosure sale, and then I'll start telling you what a tax foreclosure sale is. So at some point, I'm probably gonna have to put my glasses on, because I can't read squat on my phone, and I don't really look this pretty all the time. I wear Coke bottles. That's okay though. I don't mind if I have to put Coke bottles on to see what's going on. Smart girls sit at the front of the bus, and smart girls wear glasses. I'll tell you about that sitting at the front of the bus part later. That's for vacation information. Okay, so another time, I bought a house off a tax foreclosure sale, which is really unusual. Very few homes of value really make it to the tax foreclosure sale. Usually by the time that a home would hit the foreclosure sale, the owner has been contacted multiple times by other real estate investors, and so that doesn't happen very often, but once upon a time it did. And this was an online sale, and the county was new to selling online. So some of these counties, you have to send in a bid, you have to send in a deposit ahead of time. So, you know, say that cutoff date is a week or two before the sale, you might find your buyer because they want to buy something on that sale and you're a registered bidder. You can buy it. You can work out a deal. And so I've done that before too. There's so many ways to make real estate, man. There's so many ways to make money in real estate. Is it a get rich quick scheme? Oh, hell no. What time is it? About 4 a.m? What are you doing? Are you learning something? Are you shopping on Amazon? What you doing? You know, we all do it. But okay, so we were at an online tax sale, and my assistant was actually the one doing the bidding, and I keep asking her, we're on a live stream with each other, and she keeps refreshing that house that's going up for sale, and I keep saying, am I still high bid? Am I still high bid? And I think I bought it for like $2,500, and I flipped that for like $150. I did throw a lot of money into it, though. I probably put 50,000 into improvements on that. So she kept telling me that, yes, I was high bid on that. And I'm not sure why people didn't bid on it. It was an unusual transaction in that the counties, if the county has taxed you as a manufactured home and a piece of property, and that's what's going up for sale, you are buying that. However, you might not get that title to the home because the county doesn't keep the titles. That's like a car title. Manufactured home comes with a title, and unless you eliminate the title, you've probably heard that term before, which is a process that you go through, and you get rid of that title at the state level, and it becomes just part of the real property. So I bought that for like $2,500, and I hired a lawyer to show me how to do that paperwork, and boy, I'll teach on that sometime, because that was a really interesting lesson to learn itself. And a way around that is if you can get a hold of the owner, offer to have them give you a quit claim deed and buy the title, you know, offer $2,000. You get now you've cleared that break in the title between you and the tax sale. Anyway, so boy, there's just so much in my head. I could sit and talk in front of this thing for hours, and so maybe I will. And it was really difficult yesterday. I started teaching, and it was kind of difficult because, man, before you knew it, that turned into like this longest broadcast ever, and a little 20-minute video, and I had to break it into several segments in order to be able to upload it. So you're going to see me pick my nose. You're going to see me go to the coffee pot, and you're going to see that I'm a pot smoker. And if any of that offends you, then I suggest you just quit listening. I was nominated class clown. Said no one ever. That's actually, you know, it's not really the best thing you want to be called in your life as class clown. So, but I was homecoming queen the same day. It's a small school. It's hard, how do you get that? But okay, it was the same small school. Shout out to my friends. Love my high school friends. They're my biggest supporters. And I guess some of them are just now hearing for the first time that I'm a real estate nerd. There were so many nerds in our class. Back to real estate. okay. So I bought that house, and I went and I knocked on their door. I drove up there, and it's a 13-hour drive. And I thought, I heard someone in there. It took her a while to get to the door, though. And her name was Brandy. Rest in peace. She became a friend of mine. Unusual story. Hoarder is the word that you would use. She was a beautiful soul. Knocked on the door and she said, oh, I thought they would tell me before they sold my house. And like they would call her. But she'd gotten the notices. And I said, I'm really sorry to hear that. And there was a couple dogs in the kennels. One of them was Thelma. She would later be transported. To Arizona, and she died on my property. She had a beautiful ending of her life. I assume a snake got her. But that's how deep life hits you. When you are out dealing in other people's assets, it's not an easy game. Someone's losing that asset. She's a really good example of why someone lost that asset. It was her parents. They had owned it. She'd grown up there. Her and her husband lived there. They had passed away and she was stuck. And it was a hoarding situation. And I said, okay, you know, at the door, I would, I'd be back. How about I be back in about a month? And I would order a dumpster, and because there was garbage everywhere. And so during that month, we talked several times, and I got to know her. Oh, she was a beautiful soul. She started a group for cooking, and we would share recipes. And so I showed up. It was time to go back up there, and nothing was really packed. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single wide manufactured home, super cute, less than 20 years old. And so I said, okay, well, let's rent you a U-Haul. And I found a gal who I'm friends with still today, and another gal from that who I'm friends with still today. I mean, these are people that I see when I go there. I have lunch with them and things like that. I really appreciate the people that God do put in my path. And so about a crew of 6 showed up, and I had a 20-foot dumpster, and we ended up hauling away 2 20-foot dumpsters off that property. And we made a few U-Haul loads to a storage facility, and I moved her out. The rule was, if you were going to work for me that day, you had to have the utmost respect for the situation. It was not an easy task. It smelled horrific. And it's not a job for everyone. Don't go buying houses sight unseen on the inside unless you are prepared, that you have the resources. And sometimes you just have to have the courage that you can deal with whatever is inside there. You never know what condition people live in. And also, you learn quickly that it's not necessarily a reflection upon their personality. It's just, let's just say that it's not mental. wellness, and there is a word for it. Anyway, that's another story. Beautiful story. I ended up having to send certified letters. We could not find that title. I did get the quitclaim deed. I paid her for it. And because she was the heir. And then we were unable to get the title, so we had to send out some certified letters, and then you go to court and you do a court action, and it just releases the title to you. And then we were able to take that documentation to the state, or to we filed that at the county as well, and through that I got a title at the state. So that took extra money though. Could I have sold it without that title? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's mine. It was recorded as mine. It was taxed as one. However, it was of such value that I would not have been able to do a traditional closing through a title company. A realtor would have said, no, you can't sell that without the title. And there's Thurston. My doggy's crying. He might want out. Maybe he just wants his name said. It did take a while to quiet that title, though. I'll tell you, I did rent it for a few years before I sold it. What are other fun things that I've done online? I did write some of these down because, I'm going to get lost. Oh, I love buying wells online. Wellheads, like you drill a well. Well, I'm going to say that most of my competitors do not go look at all of the properties that are on the tax sale list. I mean, we've done it so many times that we know it by the back of our hand. So if it's a square mile of raw land and you've already been there 10 times, you don't necessarily have to keep going back before the sale every time to know what you're buying. But I do. And there's certain pockets that there is a lot of unrecorded wells. We really didn't seem like we the people, state level, state oversees water and septic. Those laws are dictated by your state. So when, you're out researching land and you have to go find out the laws that are available to you through the state, not the county. The county will direct you that way, but you better know your state water laws. Does the property that you're buying have the right to drill a well? Because water rights can be sold off. And what kind of water right are you buying? Most water rights are domestic water rights, which gives you the right to, run your household, feed your animals, have your farmyard garden. I have seen it restricted to maybe like 400 square feet outside of water use, but that's really in a very dry desert region. But agricultural water rights are a different kind of water right, where you get enough water rights to water, say 40 acres of alfalfa. That's a different type of water right, and you've got to buy your agricultural water rights. Okay, back to buying wellheads. I'm buying wellheads that are for domestic use, and I was at a tax sale once, and there was a shed on a property, and I thought, oh, I bet that's got a wellhead in it. And because you would normally put something around your wellhead, because if it freezes, it's gonna crack it. But the city boys don't know that. And most of my competition so I thought, wow, look at that. And I saw a few other things on the property that indicated, yeah, that was going to be in there. and it was a locked shed. And so I'm at the sale and I'm bidding pretty heavy. Granted, the property sits right on a paved road and there's power along it, but why, they're wondering why, I'm not, at this point, I'm not the deepest pockets in the room. There's a lot of men. If you want to blow me out of the water, you can blow me out of the water. I'm not the richest woman in the world, contrary to popular belief, and it's a game. It is a game. So there was two of them that said that day, why are you bidding so high on that? And of course, I'm not going to tell them because I think there's a well on it. So I did win it, and there was a well on it. But often you can just drive around and you can see a wellhead. What does a wellhead look like? Well, it's a round, about as round as a coffee can, and they can stick up that far. They could stick up that far out of the ground. They're not always sticking up out of the ground, though. You might find a cover on it. Another indication would be that you've got the stands that are the pull up and the push down. Those are ran. They don't need electricity. They're ran on like pressure. So, you could have that. A really old one, out in the field. Okay, here's how I really find them though. If there's a lot of, properties on a tax sale, I'm going to really get in deep and look for power. Because often people that want to run a wellhead have power strung to it. So if I see that there's power, I'm definitely going to go look at that raw piece of land. And so there's going to be a lot of things with power that you're going to see on Google Earth. I'll do another round on Google Earth someday because I don't just use Google Earth. There's other tools out there that I've never even told my competitors what I use. It's like Google Earth on drugs, and you can see a lot. Anyway, so I've walked into tax sales and bought wellheads for $100 that way because you didn't know there was a wellhead on it, and everything's selling for $50, but I'm going to make sure I get that one, and I'm just going to bid $100 on that one. Don't assume that every wellhead works either. It's a gamble, man. You're rolling dice. And say in the last couple years, I've bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wellheads in the last 18 months. 3 of those were good. 1 of them was dry, and the other one had a slow refill rate. So there was enough water that you could pump out. You could camp out there. You could fill up your holding tanks on your RV. You could fill up a holding tank, maybe it run for 20, 30 minutes, give you a lot of water, but then it's going to take a couple hours to fill up that the hole in the ground, right? So your flow rate back into that wasn't the best. But I ended up selling that recently, and I sold it to a well driller who's going to go out there and blow that hole back out, or at least try. So that's a whole nother video too about what do you do with your wells. One of the wells I had pumped, and it pumped a lot of sand. It hadn't been used for probably 15, 20 years, and it pumped a lot of sand before it ran clear. But it was a good well. So those are wins. Other things that you find hidden are septic systems, RVs. You never know until you get off the road and you go look in the trees. What do you got? What are other things that I've done at the tax sales? Other wins? There's so many. I When I first started, all of the sales were in person. And that really eliminated a lot of the competition. You had to, you've got to spend time there researching the land that's going up for sale. Say that there's 300 properties going up for sale. How did I learn it all? I went and looked at every single one of them. And now the sales are online, most of them. And so there's websites that allow you to view what's coming up for sale. And so then your competition really gets a lot more. However, some of those sales can take several hours to complete. It can be a whole day sale, even though it's online, especially, something that goes up for sale at 9 o'clock in the morning and is supposed to end at 3 in the afternoon. I see I'm kind of cutting in and out here. Something that goes up for sale at 9 in the morning is supposed to end at 3 in the afternoon. So say there's an overtime period in that auction. Every time somebody bids, it might go another 5 minutes, and it might take all day for that sale to get over. So make sure you leave yourself enough time to do a sale. My very first sale that I went to, if you watched yesterday, I was late to my first sale. New Mexico was an hour ahead of Arizona, and I didn't know that. I showed up an hour late, and all I simply did was watch the sale. So make sure that you know if a sale is going off at, it starts at 9 in the morning. Is it Eastern time? Is it Central time? Who's running the sale? Where is it at, and where are you at? So tax sales are published in your local newspaper. You ever go to the back of the newspapers? And newspapers used to be big things, and they're such a thing of the past anymore, but they are online. And they're published notices, they're legal notices. The treasurer of the county is required to publish that notification. They collect the data gets published. It gets, first of all, it does get recorded at the recorder's office. If you're digging deep, that's a whole nother one too. You want to really get into doing tax foreclosure sales? Find the list that's recorded the first year it's delinquent. It'll show you your first year, your second year, and your third year. Write letters to the first year, second year, and third year. Man, I've made a lot of money doing that. You're buying, that person thinks they're losing their property, and you come along and say, hey, I want to buy it. Okay. Brandy was a good example of how does something get to sale? Why? Who are you sending that letter to? Who is on that list? Usually it's somebody that is no longer living, and you've got heirs involved. And often the heir doesn't have the resources, whether it's mentally or financially, to figure out how to even process what to do, how to become the executor of the estate, to file the paperwork, to hire a lawyer so that you can clear the title. You've got taxes due, you've got insurance due, you've got lawyers to pay, and you've got no resources. What do? And they go up for sale. On homes, usually a buyer will come in and say, hey, I want to buy that. Great. and they can hold your hand while you get that done. Simply a contract that states, that if this is, once it's all, how that's going to work out. And so people do buy those assets all the time. They pay your taxes current and you get money, but you still got to be able to have the correct documentation that shows you that the heir to that, to the estate. I have made money myself letting stuff go to sale. Rio Rancho, New Mexico, never, ever ceases to grow. It's a little, I call it a suburb of Albuquerque. It's its own municipality, but it joins Albuquerque on the northwest. And prices were crazy one time, and I had things cheaper on my website than what was going for at the tax sale. And so I wrote those people letters. And okay, so I got the sale list. These are the 300 names that are going up for sale. All right, I wrote 300 people letters and said, hey, I want to buy your property. And I ended up buying about 30 properties. That happened to be a place where the law says the person that owns the property the day that it goes for sale gets the excess monies, as opposed to the person that owns the land when the tax lien arose. It keeps saying I have a slow connection. So I sure hope that it's picking up all this stuff. Oh, my head is so full. I could talk forever. We're going to have to follow up on a million things later. Okay, so in New Mexico, it said that who gets the money is who owned it the day that the property taxes went for sale. So I had gone in, I had written everybody letters, and I went and decided some of them were worth a lot of money. They were in some better areas that were already by the growth. And so I paid the taxes current on those, and those did not go to sell. In New Mexico, you're allowed to pay your taxes up to the day of the sale, and those were pulled off the sale. But I had recorded deeds on all the rest of them. And I let the state know, the state runs the sales in New Mexico. I let the state know that day too, that by the way, some things that went to sale today, here's my copy of my deeds. I have the right to the excess monies on that. And indeed, I collected excess monies on that transaction. I never did that again. And I'll tell you why as well. But okay, so what are excess monies? Have you ever seen the commercials, or maybe you've been at like a state fair and there's a booth that says, hey, search here to see if you have any money coming back. I just saw something the other day from, it was a posting by like the state of New Mexico. I follow a lot of New Mexico content on Facebook. Start following the areas you live in on Facebook. Get on your groups and follow your local news. You're going to find out what's going on in your community, and start reading it and looking at it from an investment perspective, not what's on sale at the mall. Anyway, okay, and look for overgrown driveways. We'll get to overgrown driveways later. I hope somebody out there is taking notes. Shar, you said you were going to follow up on this, and you said you were going to follow up on this, and there's so much I could talk about. Okay, where were we? We're at the tax sale. Excess monies. Okay, what are excess monies? So when I used to work at a bank, that's the first time I saw anything excess being turned over. And it says that getting me coffee soon. Gonna have to figure out this whole damn phone thing. Shit. um, like if we had a safe deposit box go delinquent, or there had been no activity on an account for a period of time, we were required to go in under dual control into your safe deposit box. It would have to be drilled open, and under dual control, we would have to document what was in that safe deposit box and turn that over to the state. And because they weren't the bank's to keep, and if it was money, it was turned over to the state as well. The banks charge fees to do that, and so often it, if it's a couple $100, it dwindled all your money away. But or maybe you put a deposit down for a public school, you were attending a college or something. So when you put your name in that little, in that, and it comes up, you go, oh yeah, I did do that. And you can apply through the state for excess monies. And once upon a time, I had tried to buy a piece of land from a lady, and it turned out that she no longer owned one of them. The money had been turned over to the state, and so I obtained a power of attorney to do that specific transaction for her, and I got her money back, and she bought a scooter with it. Oh, she was cute. And I did buy a piece of land for her, but and often you will see that people that's another way to make money. I'm gonna have to get back to how I made money on that excess money. So people do try to make money on that excess monies. They'll get that list and they'll contact you and they'll say, hey, we know how to get you your money, and we're going to take an X percentage of it, and you sign this contract right here that gives us power of attorney to go get it for you. And that's what they're doing. That's fair enough. You didn't know you had it anyway. Okay. So that's what I did. I went to the state and I claimed excess monies. And so the state, it's a county tax sale in New Mexico, but the state runs it. So I keep saying state, but it is a county tax sale. And I notified them that I had filed a deed. They are required to notify the previous owners that their property went for sale, and if you're the rightful owner of this, that you could sign this form, send it back, and we'll send you the excess monies. And okay, I did that. Well, there was a gentleman that called me, and he said, hey, Shar, I got a form in the mail from the state, and it said that did I have my property went to sale? Did I have any right to it? And I said, yes, I had let it go to sale. I heard it was a way to make money. And that was my first time doing it. And big lump in my throat because I did not like that conversation. I remember this. It's been how many years? A long time. It's been probably 15 years since I did that. And I said, yeah, I did that. I had read about it. I had researched it. And that was my first time that I had done that. And he didn't know how much money I had received. Maybe he did know what I received. I don't know. But say that I bought that property from him for $500, and that went for sale for about $2,500. Say that was an example of, so I got $2,000 for filing a deed and signing a form. I didn't feel proud. And I said, yeah, I did that. I'd learned that, and I wanted to learn how to do that. And he was quiet, and he goes, who are you? You sound like you're a smart girl. Good for me. I sound like I'm a smart girl. Well, I am, but I decided that that wasn't the game for me. I don't have that tough a skin. There's plenty of other ways to make money. So what is a tax sale? How far are we into this? I haven't even got to it yet. Okay, I am going to go get more coffee. So I'm going to see if this works. I'm going to use a photo. I wonder if that'll work. I'm going to do that. Look at that. Now it's just a picture of me. Watch it fall over. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to undo it. Good Lord, I suck at this. You know what? People that do this for a living are going to help me. They're going to say, hey, Shar, buy this device right here. Hey, Shar, click this button right here. So how do you get rid of your little thing now? Okay, well, we're off to the coffee pot. You know, learning to make content and look, it's my boyfriend. His name is Keurig. Sexy, strong, available whenever I need him. All right. Hear that? That's well water. Okay. So I was thinking that, I've been following some videos on some groups on how to figure out all this online journey. And everybody's got these little TikToks. I'm not TikTok. They got these little Amazon shops and stuff. And I don't sell that. I don't have anything to sell other than land. And I thought, well, maybe Keurig wants to hook up with me. Right? That's a joke. All right. Well, also, here's another. If you are a coffee addict like me, hate going to the grocery store. So look what I keep on demand. If I'm out of milk or your creamer, like any milk for your coffee is better than no milk at all. And that's smart. It's a trademark. Top Coat Associates, Elk Grove Village, Illinois. All right. Shout out to El Morro National Monument in New Mexico. Oh, I love going there. There's a subdivision there, Cibola County, and the subdivision sits on the backside of El Morro National Monument. It's called Pine Meadow Ranches. I have flipped hundreds of properties in that beautiful ranch. The ranch is probably 5 miles tall, 3 miles wide, and on the east side of it, it drops down into this 200-foot sandstone, and on part of that sandstone is El Morro National Monument, where their old old ruins are up there. Oh, it's beautiful to go hike up to the top of El Morro, and I have camped at Pine Meadow Ranches. I've explored. It's so pretty to walk around. Oh, I'm going to the fridge to get the milk, and that's not, I don't have any milk. Good Lord. All right, it's so pretty to walk around because you're going to find all kinds of, little, tools and arrowheads. I've seen a few herds of elk up there. Anyway, when somebody comes to visit, okay, so yeah, that's all cool. I mean, that is cool. That's a cool part of the subdivision. Mostly who would buy that from me, get to know who your buyer is. How did I find out about this? My buyer for me, and it's about 2 hours west of Albuquerque, and it sits up in the pine level, juniper level, and it snows up there a lot. And so who would buy that from me would be somebody coming perhaps out of Albuquerque, usually that region, looking to get away for the weekend, to maybe, if it's hot down in, southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, this is going to be a region that is not going to be hot. So you could definitely cool off in the summertime. And they made me a ridiculously low offer. They really did. And that's okay. I've made millions of them myself. I've probably made at least 1 million lowball offers. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm putting my camera back on and I'm learning this. There we go. Oh, scratch my nose. Okay, so somebody made me a really lowball offer. Where am I at in this conversation? And I wasn't interested. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, well, that's because I'm 60 years old and we're just going to go with it. Tax sales. If you don't pay your taxes, you are, by law, going to lose your property, your home. I've been delinquent in my taxes before on my big home. So, depending on the laws of the state, we were talking about excess monies. Did we finish that conversation? I think that we did. I never did it again. Great way to make money. Okay, write those people letters. We were writing letters to people. If you don't pay your taxes, you are going to lose your property. And the treasurer is required to publish that. Those old newspapers, start reading them. Call your treasurer. Ask, when is the sale? Where is it held? Where is it published? Legally published. It has to be legally published by your local newspaper. Often the person that answers the phone is the newest person in any courthouse. If you call the assessor, call the treasurer. Who answers the phone? The new girl. It's the easiest thing to teach somebody, your receptionist. She answers the phone. So you're on the phone, you're like, well, when's your tax sale? And where's it published? Well, it's on I don't know, or it's on the website. You'll have to wait for it to come out. The sale's not yet. That's not the truth. It is published. It's published, like I said, it's published at the county. And so years ago, I was this is how deep I had to dig to find a tax sale so I could write them letters. Because write a letter before it goes to sale. Offer to buy it. offer to assume the taxes, you would be somebody's dream come true to their problem. They're losing it. They don't know that they're going to get the excess monies anyway. And what if it went for minimum bid? There is no excess monies. What is minimum bid? It's the amount that is owed for the taxes plus any fees that it took for it to be sold, which probably included a title search, fees paid to other people. So they don't get to say, oh, plus we want an extra $1,000. They don't get to do that. So one time I was trying to find the sale list, and it was a new treasurer. These are voted elected officials. They've never worked for the county before in many circumstances. And that's a pretty technical question, as once that list that the treasurer compiles is put together, it has to be legally recorded. That gets recorded at the recorder's office. From there, that list is then published into your local newspapers or an online link at the treasurer's office. So I got told no, there was no list. I had to go to the state level to talk to the county level in order to produce that list. So don't take no for an answer sometimes. I'm not everybody's favorite person. I might come across as and I'm sorry, but I have the right to that information, and I don't think you have the correct information. So can I talk to somebody else? You just got to learn how to dig deeper. So if you don't pay your taxes, it's going to go to sale after so many years. So most states are 3 years. So you didn't pay your taxes 1 year, you didn't pay your taxes the second year, and you didn't pay your taxes the third year. And now that following tax sale, it now goes up for sale. And so you are going to, after that sale, you will receive a deed from the tax sale that'll put it into your name. Depending on the laws that are involved in that state, determines what liens or encumbrances stay with that tax deed. For instance, in Washington State, which is where I was from originally, that's where I bought my very first tax sale property. It was a trailer, a little RV set up on a piece of property in an RV community, and there was a landowners association that did not file a lien against it. And so at that tax sale, there was nothing owed. We just started taking over, and because the RV was taxed on the property, that came with it. We never had the title for it. And when we turned around and sold it, we never had a title for it. And those lots today go for probably 40 to 50,000 back then. This was the early 90s. I say we bought it for $1,000 and we sold it for about $3,500. And it was just a little piece of property. It was super cute. We spent the night up there once, and it was in there's a pool there, and it had big dues on it. But somebody contacted us, wrote us a letter and said, hey, I saw that you're the new owner, and if you'd like to sell it, I'm a buyer. Okay, so wow, they contacted us. That was super easy. We just held it. However, in New Mexico, those liens stay on. So say that a house is going up for sale and it has a mortgage on it. You just bought a house with a mortgage. Say it has, you know, a landowners association lien, or a lien for unpaid water, a lien for somebody worked on your home and they filed a mechanic's lien because they didn't pay, you know. So all those types of liens that would normally have been wiped off in some states, in New Mexico, stay on. So boy, when you start playing with money, bigger money, you better be sitting your butt in front of a computer screen and pulling title searches to know what you're buying. So know your laws before you go to the sale. Know what could be on it. In all states, the IRS, I believe it's a 60-day right of redemption. Maybe it's 90 days, but the IRS has a right of redemption if they do have a lien against it. And after that time goes away, if there's an IRS lien, it will be recorded at the recorder's office. Often too, the county holding the sale will have the courtesy to note it, that there's an IRS lien on it, but not always. Once upon a time, I did buy a home off a foreclosure block. That's a mortgage foreclosure, a deed of trust foreclosure. That's a different kind of sale. That's you don't pay your monthly mortgage, then that gets foreclosed on. And so that is, again, recorded at the recorder's office, published in the newspaper. Often you can find that on the billboard also at the county courthouse. They'll stick those, what's being sold on the county. Those are held usually on the county courthouse steps outside. It's just they could be held online as well. I've never seen them held anywhere else if they are going to be held publicly other than on the county courthouse steps. And usually who is going to show up for that sale is the attorney's office that has been paid to do so. So we bought a house that had a $5,000 lien against it for IRS purposes. Maybe it was a $10,000 lien. And so we had negotiated with them. And yeah, they would accept $5,000. IRS is pretty willing to accept whatever if something goes to sell, because they don't want to have to come after me. They don't want to have to go to court, do all that stuff. So they'll work with you, right? At least they're getting something for their lien. So that's a really unusual story too. We'll just sit here and tell it because it's on my mind. Okay, you're gonna listen forever to this stuff. Maybe I should just pause it and start again. All right. Slot 2, part 1. I don't know how far I'm going to go, but I'm going to hang up on this one and I'm going to talk about that property that got contested and it took a while to pay off the IRS.